talking to Congressman Jim Banks of the Indiana 3rd District. He is a candidate for Senate in the state of Indiana as well. This was the Washington Post. And full disclosure, one of your comms people sent it over and said, "Did you see this? I get things from members and teams all the time. Hey, check this out. Hey, talk about this." I thought this was interesting because this was talking about where I live in Indiana. This is the Washington Post. Tired of hostile Washington, China courts Indiana and Minnesota. And it states when mayors from cities including Carmel, Indiana, and Oxford, Mississippi went to China recently, they were feted in ways big and small, and about test driving vehicles, getting royal treatment, enjoying some of Mao Zedong's favorite liquor, which is a certainly peculiar thing to do. Carmel, Indiana is where I live. That would be the former mayor, Jim Brainerd, not the current mayor, Sue Finkham. But this conversation is about China not stopping in trying to curry favor. We have talked Confucius Institutes before, what we saw on college campuses in your work to have them removed. What does this piece in the Washington Post, what does this story say to you? And is there a place for Congress within it?
Yeah, there is. It's a deeply concerning story. I just before I hopped on this interview with you, Tony, I was in a hearing with the China Select Committee that I'm a part of, and Secretary Pompeo was testifying before us today. If you remember, when Secretary Pompeo was the Secretary of State, he warned our nation's governors about getting entangled with Chinese interests. You had governors like our own who were traveling on so-called economic development missions in China and trying to lure business to the United States. And Pompeo warned our governors about that. But this is a even more concerning story to me, because as the Chinese figure out that they can't, as Washington becomes more aware to the China threat, now they're targeting our nation's mayors, including the former mayor of Carmel, who took this lavish, the Washington Post story is really alarming. It took this lavish trip to China and on a mission, and it sounds like a really disturbing story. So what Congress needs to do about it is crack down on these United Front missions. We've talked, you and I have talked before about the Confucius Institutes, but the Sister Cities program that a lot of Indiana cities
and it
and towns
seems
are
so
a part
incredibly innocuous. The whole idea of having a sister city in France or a sister city in Germany. Sometimes there's multiple sister cities, including sister cities in China.
Yeah, the Chinese aren't interested in having the mayor of Carmel to come over just to hang out. Obviously, they have a much greater interest in bringing mayors of thriving cities like Carmel. Carmel is a thriving city, and they want that relationship. They want to leverage that relationship and manipulate that relationship for their own good. So Indiana cities need to drop their sister cities programs now. And I know with the new mayor of Carmel, I haven't spoken with her directly yet, but I'm a big fan, and I know she'll take this very seriously. The mayor of Fort Wayne has engaged in a sister cities program for a number of years, and I've warned the city of Fort Wayne that they should drop that program. A lot of cities around the country and in our state have this Washington Post story. I hope everybody will take a look at it and read it. It's a warning shot that we need to take this more seriously as China ramps up and amps up their interest in engaging with mayors, because they realize that Washington has become more aware of their tactics, their espionage, their influence programs through the United Front that we need to crack down on.
Congressman Jim Banks of the Indiana 3rd District, running for Senate in Indiana on the Republican side. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us. More is coming up. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today.